Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's presentation on the Apple HomePod. So we're going to be discussing what the HomePod is. We're going to be giving you a physical description of the HomePod, showing you how to set up the HomePod, basically telling you how to do that, and finally, telling you what it can do and what it cannot do. And finally, is the HomePod worth it? Was it worth the hype that Apple made about it when it first released? Is it still worth that hype? So thanks for joining me, and let's begin. So the Apple HomePod is a cylindrical device, and in other words, shape of a cylinder, and it has a touch screen, and that touch screen is accessible to us thanks to the use of VoiceOver. It was kind of cool when I heard that the HomePod did have VoiceOver because people weren't sure if it was going to have VoiceOver, but it definitely does. This is a very loud speaker, but that's what makes it even the more exciting. It's a very loud speaker by Apple, and it stands about.
Play.
Oops. Well, there's VoiceOver right there for you. Let's see. 6-7 inches maybe. It's about. So I've got a Google Home right beside it. It's bigger. It's fatter than the Google Home. A lot louder than the Google Home. But as I stated, it has a screen on the top, and the screen usually has about 3 buttons: pause, previous, next. Sometimes the play button and the pause button, same button, not physical, of course. That will turn into an end call button. It depends on if you are talking to someone. But let's make our way down the speaker because I'm kind of getting off track. Sorry about that. The speaker is a fabric type speaker. It goes all around the speaker. It's like a mesh type of material. And in the back, we have a really, it might sound weird to say this, but a really nice cord that leads to a nice feeling plug. You see, if you guys have ever felt an Echoes plug or something like that, you guys know it's just a wire, just a wire that's kind of plasticky. Well, the folks at Apple made this HomePod cord. It has kind of a, I'm trying to think of a way to describe it. It's a nice material. I can't think of the. It's almost like this fabric that goes over the wire that doesn't make it look cheap. It looks like a very durable wire. And this HomePod the wire does not unplug from the HomePod, but it does. It's a very long wire, maybe about 3 feet long, and it ends in a plug, 2-pronged plug. If you guys have ever seen an Apple TV plug, if you've ever felt one, it feels like that. It's like a fat little plug that you plug into either a surge protector or a wall outlet. And this HomePod does have some amazing capabilities. But any other or any questions about the description that I can answer while we're on that topic? Okay. So this HomePod, what does it do? So this HomePod can play music. It can play just about any media that you can think of. It has definitely a very loud volume to it. The way you turn up the volume is kind of interesting. While we're on the subject of volume, you have to say something like volume 4, volume 8. And what it will do is it'll turn to that precise percent. If you guys are familiar with the Echoes or the Google Homes, you'd have to say something like, turn the volume to 20% or 10%, or volume 5, volume 6, volume 10. And it would turn all the way to 100. This one, you would have to say volume 100. But that is what the HomePod can do. Now let's show you what it's like setting up.
4:10 p.m. 4:11 p.m.
I'm opening Home.
Needs.
Okay, well,
If you like, I can search.
Stop. I'm going to open up the Home app because that's where we need to go. Open Home.
Home. Rooms.
Okay.
Tab 2 of
Perfect.
3.
So we need to go to
Automation.
Yep.
My home. Edit. My home. Favorites. Great speaker.
I'm going to, so I renamed this Great Speaker, but I'm going to factory reset this.
Open controls. Great button. Track previous button. Clear.
So what I need to do, excuse me, is I need to scroll up. I'm going to do 3-finger scroll up.
Page 4.
I'm going to
Accessibility. About locations. Accessibility.
Accessibility has voiceover, which includes audio ducking, and it also voiceover on and off, that is, and also has a dexterity option for people with dexterity issues. So we'll go in there really quick while I'm on that subject.
Vision. Heading.
So there's vision.
Voiceover. On. Interaction. Touch accommodations.
And we have touch accommodations.
Touch accommodate back.
So we'll do a 2-finger scrub to go back.
Access and manufacture.
And we'll go past this.
Reset HomePod.
Yep, that's what I want to do.
Restart HomePod. Remove accessory. Button.
We could restart the HomePod if we wanted to, if it was acting up. It's important to note that you do have to have Bluetooth on when setting up this HomePod. But let's remove the accessory.
Remove accessory. Alert. Removing bedroom. Great speaker will erase all content and settings.
That is fine.
To set it up again.
I need to set it up again anyway. But let's hear what it says.
Great speaker will erase all content and settings. To set it up again, just bring your iPhone near HomePod and follow the on-screen instructions.
I'll do that.
Remove. Button. My home. Heading.
Okay. And now it's doing its thing. It's resetting. Should be.
Edit. Button. My home. Favorite access. Great TV. Selected. Home. Tab.
Okay.
1 of 3.
So it should be restarting. And it's going to make quite a nice musical sound actually when it starts up. What I'm doing is I'm putting my phone on the desk. I'm just moving the HomePod forward. You see, with this HomePod, what it has to do is it's getting its surroundings by listening for. It's listening with its microphones to basically get to be aware of its environment, if that makes sense. It's basically, there we go. That would be the music chime. Kind of talked over it, but
HomePod. Heading.
Okay.
Setup. Button.
Oh, there we go. And my iPhone just said setup HomePod.
Setup. Button.
You guys can hear this okay, right? Or do I need to turn up the phone?
I can hear it. It's a little bit low, but I can hear it.
Okay.
Setup. Button. Dismiss. What room is HomePod in?
Okay.
Heading.
Yes.
Bedroom. Picker item.
It is.
Adjustable.
It's in my bedroom.
One of continue.
Can you
Button.
hear?
Dismiss. But personal requests. Heading.
Okay. Personal requests.
Use Siri and HomePod to read and send messages, make calls, create reminders, and more when this iPhone is nearby.
You can do that.
Use personal requests. Button. Don't use personal. Use personal.
Yep.
Dismiss. Siri for everyone. Siri can recognize the voices of each person in this home to provide access to their own music, reminders, calendar, and more. Invite people to your home in the Home app after setup. Continue. Button.
So, for example, if I wanted to invite one of you to my Home app, I could do that using your Apple ID email.
Continue. Dismiss. Siri on HomePod. You can talk to Siri by saying, "Hey Siri," or by touching and holding the top of HomePod.
You can do that, and it does work quite well.
Siri sends information like your voice input, contacts, and location to Apple to process your requests. About Siri and continue. But dismiss.
Pretty
Terms and
straightforward,
conditions.
actually.
Please, by using your
Okay.
HomePod, you
I'm
agree
gonna
to be.
I'm gonna be doing a 4-finger tap toward the bottom.
Don't agree. Agree. Button.
Click
Dismiss.
left to agree.
Accounts and settings. heading.
Okay.
Contact, use your iCloud account, transfer settings, button.
Okay.
Dismiss. Center the HomePod in the frame. HomePod, heading. In progress, setting up. Voiceover on.
There it goes. Wow.
Yep.
Cool.
Setting up.
Okay, so the settings are still being transferred.
How big is its screen on the HomePod?
I would say, let's see here. Maybe if you were to put your palm on it, it would almost cover the screen. If that gives you an idea. I've got like medium-sized hands, I'd say.
Setting up.
Okay, so the changes are still being, or the HomePod's still being set up, rather. Doesn't actually take too long, which is nice. So right now, I think what it's going to be doing, what it does is it uses your phone. So you can so what I could do, so let's say, I'll use you as an example. So let's say, there we go.
Hi, I'm Siri. Welcome to HomePod. You can't tell, but I'm waving. To get my attention, say, "Hey Siri." Let's get started. Say, "Hey Siri, what can you do?"
Hey Siri, what can you do? Oh, yes. Hello.
Just a sec. I can do lots of things, like turn on the lights, give you a news update, and tell you about the weather. Now you try. Say, "Hey Siri, play some music."
Hey Siri, play some music.
Just a sec. Okay, here's a personal radio station built just for you, starting with every avenue. Remember, anytime you have a question, just say, "Hey Siri."
Hey Siri, stop. And the nice thing, okay, someone actually raised their hands. I think it was Verlin. Did you have a question? Okay, I thought I heard that. I apologize if I misheard.
Home. Hey
Okay.
Siri.
All right, so now we're presented with
home. Hey,
Okay.
try asking me.
Okay, so now we have basically some things you can ask Siri, like, "Hey Siri, what's the weather?" and all that stuff. Except it probably just heard me. So let's go to the end.
Done. Music. Hey, done.
So it gives you an example.
Improved Siri and dictation is enabled on HomePod.
That's fine.
You previously chose to share audio from your Siri interactions with dismiss. But
Dismiss that. You can choose whether or not to do that or not.
My home. Heading.
Okay.
Edit. Button. Edit homes. Edit. My home. Favorite. Great TV. HomePod. Bedroom. Bedroom HomePod. Button. Selected. Home.
Okay, so basically the HomePod's all set up now. That was very quick and seamless. And before I go any further, does anybody have any questions about the setup or anything that I might have accidentally glossed over?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Apparently, do you have to have an app in order to control that?
You do need to be in an app, and it's the Home app that'll come pre-installed on the iPhones.
Oh, okay.
Yep. It's actually very, very nice. And so, any other questions?
After you call her, does she automatically beep to let you know that she's hearing you?
So that's actually an interesting question. So you can have it beep, or you can have it not do anything. And if you say, "Hey, Siri," it will actually go, "Mm-hmm." And I prefer to actually do that because the beep, it takes a little longer, but it also takes a little longer for her or him to go, "Mm-hmm."
Mhm.
So yes, to answer the question, yes, it does beep. It's a little bit different of a beep than, for example, the iPhone.
Okay.
But yes, it does beep, and it also has a light if you're able to see the light as well. And you can choose through the settings, which we'll go through next, what exactly you want the HomePod to do and how you want it to respond.
It has its own individual settings, not what you have from the phone. You can set her individually.
Correct. Yes. So if you flick up on the HomePod, it'll say Open Controls, and then so it'll have, for example, it'll have Siri settings, accessibility settings, and all kinds of settings that are separate from the phone.
Excellent. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Any other questions? Okay. So let's open up the controls of the HomePod because I want to actually rename my HomePod.
Home selected. Home. HomePod. Open controls.
Okay, so on my phone does have support 3D touch. I know that I understand the iPhone 11 does not. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's correct. So, but I'm going to flick up and open controls.
Bedroom. Mindset. Every avenue. Picture
right.
perfect.
So
Button.
what does that mean? So basically that
Double
is,
tap to launch
oh, stop. Okay, that's the music that I was just playing. So I'm going to flick to the right.
Button. Possible text. Mindset.
That button needs to be relabeled, but I mean, we basically got the gist.
Bedroom.
If we flick to the
Mindset.
left, that's basically what that button is, but it should relabel that.
But track position. Previous track.
So
Button.
we're basically seeing all the, like the track position, previous track, next track.
Play. Next track.
And this can be controlled through the control center as well. The volume of the HomePod, that can be controlled through the control center.
Volume. 45%. Adjustable.
You can go in here and adjust the volume, but honestly, I just do it through the control center. Oh, and there's nothing there.
HomePod. Button.
That's an interesting button. That button does not do anything that I'm aware of.
HomePod.
No, it should be like a heading or a title or something.
HomePod. Text field.
Ah, here we go.
Double tap to edit. Swipe up or down to select a custom action. Then double tap to activate.
This is actually what you would do to rename your HomePod. So Apple needs to, something I'll bring up, but they need to actually say double tap to rename your HomePod or something like that, but it may say something to the right.
Room. Bedroom. Button.
No, it does not. Okay.
HomePod. Text field. Is editing. HomePod. Delete.
Okay, so I like to use Braille screen input myself.
Edit. Type heading. Screen away mode. Tabletop portrait. Braille screen and landscape. Screen tabletop mode.
Setting on the table.
Dot positions calibrated.
Okay.
Dot 6. Cap G. T. Great. Dot 6. Cap at P. Yeah. K.
There we go.
Portrait. Speaker.
Great speaker. Now there should be a done.
Numbers. HomePod. Close. Bedroom. Button. Track previous play. Copy.
Let's see here.
Dictate. Emoji. Dictate. But done.
Ah, done. Bottom right corner of the screen.
Done. Bedroom. Mindset. Every avenue. But HomePod. Great speaker. Text
There we go.
field. Clear text. Room. Bedroom. Button.
That is correct.
Include in favorites. On.
So that's why we saw the HomePod, including favorites on.
Alarms. Button.
So these alarms are separate from what your phone is doing. So for example, let's say you set a lot of alarms on your phone. You can set the same alarms on your HomePod, but meaning what I mean to say is that if you set an alarm on your HomePod, it's not going to go off on your phone. So they're two separate things here. For example, if I say, "Hey Siri, what alarms do I have?" Hey Siri, what alarms do I have?
You don't have any alarms.
Right, but what I do have a lot of alarms on my phone. So we'll flick to the right.
Music and podcasts. Heading.
Okay.
Default account. Shop. Allow explicit content. On.
We're going to turn that off
Off.
just for now.
Sound check. Off.
So sound check. What is sound check? Sound check is something I've had to ask Apple a couple times about. But essentially, what sound check is let's say you have some music that you have on your computer from, I don't know, maybe you got it somewhere from a CD, and what that will do is that will basically take that music that you've gotten from a CD, maybe bought some music from Apple themselves. It'll it'll make all of your music one volume. It'll adjust the volume level. But since I do have Apple Music, I just keep sound check off because Apple already checks the volume of their music, and I haven't had any issue with the music so far.
Update listening history. On.
You
Button.
can, of course, turn that off. That's Siri listening to your conversation.
Siri. Heading.
Here we go.
Listen for Hey Siri. On.
Yep, you can do that.
Touch and hold for Siri. On. Double tap.
So what you do is you just take one finger, you'd find the screen.
Play.
Let's see. Hey Siri.
Okay, double speed.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Decrease volume.
Okay, you do have to double tap and hold. Hey Siri, stop. So double tapping and holding stop or activates Siri. But I believe was it you, Marcy? You were asking about the sound?
Yeah, I was asking about the sound, and I have another question, please.
Oh, sure.
You can set the phone to answer to HEYSIRI. How would you know the difference? Like how would they know the difference?
Yeah. So that is actually, you can do that. However, if it's a little bit hard to know the difference. Like your phone's going to answer if you do that. Or
Okay.
actually, no, I apologize. I think your HomePod would actually answer because it has a lot of about maybe 7 mics. I think 6, 7 mics on this thing. So what one individual did was she had her HomePod and her phone set to HUISIRI, and the HomePod would always answer.
They would always answer. Wow.
Yeah, or one of the two devices. It would always answer, and so she had to turn Hey Siri off on her phone, and then she would then just use it on the HomePod.
Light when using touch and hold for Siri. On.
And that's what I just did.
Double tap to toggle setting.
All right. Well.
Light when using Siri. On.
I do keep this on. I don't have any light perception, or at least I do have light perception, but not enough to see the light. I don't know. Maybe if I got really close, I could see it out of my left eye. But yeah, I just keep it on. What the heck? It's powered by electricity. Won't waste any battery.
Sound when using Siri. Off.
So let's try this.
Double on.
I'm sorry?
I said, there you go. That's where the sound is.
Yep. Hey, Siri.
There she goes.
Hello. Something that's a little interesting with that sound, though, it's almost like you have to say the phrase all at once. Whereas if I turn that off, it'll actually, you can wait until it says, and then you can finish your phrase. Like I'll try something like, hey Siri, what's the weather like?
It's currently clear.
So you kind of have to say it right after the sound.
Temperatures are heading down from 69 degrees to 55 tonight.
So it's a little bit of an interesting sound, but I'll turn that off.
Off.
So now if I say, hey Siri, hey Siri.
Uh-huh.
How are you?
I'm fine. Thanks.
It's actually kind of interesting.
English, United States.
Oh, there we go. The language.
Siri voice, American, female.
So, of course, you can choose American female, American male. The Indian voices, I believe, were introduced in 13. Oh, I don't remember the version, but somewhere in 13.
Personal requests, on. Button.
Okay, so personal requests. Let me describe something here. So there is a bug, which is one of the reasons why I did reset the HomePod. was a bug in the past that if you chose, well, let me go in here before I
Use personal requests
confuse you
on.
guys.
Bedroom grade speaker.
All right.
Possible tech. Require authentication. Heading.
Okay, require authentication. This is where the bug was. So let's say you have someone over and they're goofing around with your HomePod and they're saying, "Hey, send a message to, send a message to Joe Schmo or send a message to Steven," and you're not aware of it, and that could cause some issues because they could be doing stuff that really isn't necessary. So require authentication. What that does is if you choose, I believe it's always, because there's always and never. And always you'll get a notification on your phone saying, "Hey, HomePod wants to use Siri to send a message," and then you finish up essentially on your phone. And so, but if you hit never, which I'm the only one that uses this HomePod, and one thing that it does is it says who's speaking, so it knows it's me. But if you hit never, then you can actually send messages and call people directly from the HomePod and it uses your phone if your phone's charging or something like that. But let's go.
Selected. For secure requests. Selected. Never.
Okay, that's a bug right there. Both are selected, and you can't tell what one's selected. Right now, I'm guessing that for secure requests is selected, and visually you can tell, but VoiceOver, they've had that bug now for a few versions. Not major versions, but seems like ever since I got this HomePod, which is probably a couple versions after 13.0 started. So I'm going to double tap on never.
When asked, selected. Never. Selected. Never.
I'm going to tap it again.
Selected. Never.
Okay. And what happens sometimes, though, is even though I've selected never to require authentication, it'll sometimes tell me you need to authenticate with your iPhone first or to continue. And then what I do from there is I'll just ask it again, the HomePod that is, to send a message to even answer my phone. With that, I've not had any issues. But I'll get into that in just a minute. But it'll still say you'll need to authenticate with your iPhone from time to time. But what the key to get around that is to just ask it again. And if it says it again, just ask it again, whatever the request is that you want. Apple does know about that. I reported it several times. So I'm hoping very much that they will get that fixed as soon as possible. So anyway, let's go to the right.
When asking Siri to read your personal information, like notes, reminders, and calendar events, require authentication on your iPhone. When asking
That's
Siri...
what that is. So we'll back out of here. Yeah, I forgot she did read your calendar events. Duh. They're stored in iCloud. I don't see why not. And why isn't
Great
this backing
speaker.
out? There it is. All right.
Volume.
Where? Okay.
Default music. Default. Allow. Sound check. Update. Siri. Siri voice. Siri history. Button.
Okay, so we can go in here.
Delete Siri history. Button.
I'm good with
Delete
not
Siri
deleting it.
interactions currently associated with this HomePod from Apple servers.
And you could do
Data
that
that
if you
has
wanted
been
to.
sampled to help improve delete back.
We'll go back.
Back. Light when using Siri character
Let's go by
words.
headings.
Great sound hint headings. Music and pop Siri heading not found.
Okay.
Hints. Sound vol speak word character list sound language Siri personal requests Siri can help you get things done just by asking about Siri and privacy. Location services on.
And you can enable or disable location services.
Location service about accessibility. But
And we viewed that earlier. That has voice over and I believe it's I don't want to get it wrong. I think it's assistive touch.
in touch
Nope,
accommodate
I apologize. Touch accommodations.
back. Sound check off accessibility analytics and improvements.
And let's see. So,
Serial number.
and I think that's all we need to go through. So let me take
Great speaker.
questions,
Mindset. Every avenue.
and then we'll go from there.
Do you know what the phone check does?
The what? I'm sorry?
Phone check?
You mean sound check?
Oh, was it sound check? I thought it said phone check. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know what it does.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, sound check. It just, what it does is it'll look for songs that you have. It'll look for songs that you have in your library that may have not come from Apple, and it will turn the bad focus issue or something. I wasn't even touching the phone. Anyway, it'll look for songs that you have added through CDs or something like that, and it will basically take either Apple songs or all the songs and just put them at the same volume. But as I am subscribed to Apple Music, that I don't need sound check. So that's about it for the HomePod settings. So if we want to close this,
Home close button.
hit the close button.
My home heading.
Okay. So, any other questions?
What does it seems pretty similar to the Echo devices. What does it do that, in other words, how is it different from the Echo speakers
Sure.
as far as functionality?
Sure. So this is the what does HomePod do and what does HomePod not do part. So it's no good denying it. Siri is not the sharpest tack on the board. Okay. Google Home, in some ways, this is one of my favorites, and the A-Lady, the Echo, is another way some of my favorites. However, this HomePod, I think its strength lies in the fact that it does play music very, very well, even at 100%. There's no distortion. A good example of distortion would be, for example, the Google Home Max. That's supposed to be the Google's high-fidelity speaker, if you will. That has a distortion issue when I was researching that. And that happens, of course, when you play the music at a very high volume. The Echo Studio is Amazon's solution to a high-fidelity speaker. However, with that, they kind of killed it when it comes to bass, because basically what I'm meaning by that is when you turn the device up all the way and the bass is just on its default setting, the bass out-drowns the vocals. And so it doesn't make for a very pleasant experience unless you're listening to a very bassy song. Otherwise, you just want to be able to hear the vocals, like if you were throwing a party or something like that. And the HomePod is where it really shines, because even at high volumes, and I've tried this myself, at volume 100, the vocals are very clear. And yes, it does produce bass, but you can still hear the vocals. That's the key thing that the Echo Studio kind of tripped on. So what does this not do? You can't play third-party music on this HomePod other than Apple Music. However, having said that, you can't play it by using Siri, but you can play it by using either AirPlay 2 or Handoff. Handoff is great because I use it whenever I want to. Let's say I'm talking to HK or to Steven or any one of you guys, and I want to just, I feel like my phone needs to charge, it's getting low. I simply turn on Bluetooth, hold the phone up to the HomePod screen. So right above the HomePod, I feel a vibration on the phone, and all of a sudden the sound's coming from the HomePod. Well, what if you want to get the sound back on your phone? What if you need to travel? Simple. You hold the HomePod, thanks to Handoff. I'm sorry, not the HomePod. That'd be pretty heavy, wouldn't it? You'd hold the phone above the HomePod, and then the phone will vibrate again. All of a sudden, it's back. The person is on your phone again, or whatever audio source you're using. The audio source is on your phone again. And when you are using the HomePod as a phone or as an audio FaceTime device, you can, like I say, set your phone on the wireless charger, and it will use the microphones from your HomePod to that way you can communicate with other individuals. And so, for example, if you are a Spotify subscriber, or if you are a any type of audio related source, almost any type of audio that is Audible subscriber, for example. I'm an Audible subscriber, and I didn't know this, but it makes sense. You can play Audible through your HomePod just by doing the handoff feature, turning on Bluetooth, making sure handoffs on your phone, and holding your phone above the HomePod, and the book will start playing out of your HomePod. It's a great experience. So I guess the short answer is it can't do skills or anything like that, but the Echo is really the big strength. I guess the really big Amazon's really the big. They've committed to that. Whereas the Google Home, I've seen skills or programs that were there yesterday, but all of a sudden they're gone today. So Amazon really is the big. If you're looking for skills, then I'd suggest the Echo. But I mean, that's basically what the answer is. I mean, you can still do the third-party things, just you will have to use handoff, which isn't really a big deal or a big problem. Does that answer the question?
Well, I'm a little bit confused about the music aspect of the HomePod. In other words, the HomePod by default will play Apple Music, but if you want to play any other type of music, you have to use handoff from the phone. Is that correct?
Correct. I mean, it'll play music in your library as well. So if you've put any other music in your library, you can just say play my library music, and it will do that. But yes, on the other regarding like Spotify or Pandora or something like that, you would have to use AirPlay 2 or handoff. But honestly, handoff is not really that. It's not a hard thing to do. In fact, you know what? Let me demonstrate that really quick. So I'm grabbing my phone. I'm just going to. To be fair, I do have. You know what? Let's open Bard Mobile. Let's continue. Hold on. Open Bard Mobile. So I'm not using the Apple Music service, obviously.
Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Heading.
Okay. Yep. This is a nice book.
Current position.
I can do a 2-finger double tap to play.
He had awoken to find the dormitory deserted.
Okay, so let's
and gone down the spiral staircase
or let's hand off.
It was completely empty except for
raising above the HomePod.
A peppermint toad.
Yep, just shook.
Transferring to HomePod.
Harry Potter and Hermione, who had spread her homework over 3 tables.
Now, what if I want it back?
Where is everyone?
I just hold it above the HomePod.
Gone. It's the first.
Vibrated.
I'm great.
I was going to come and wake you up in a minute.
To iPhone. Harry Potter and the... Stop.
There you go. Very seamless, very painless, and very easy. Does that answer the question?
Yes, but about handoff, is that something that's part of iOS 13?
Yes, handoff's been available, I believe, for a little while now. Basically, a way to seamlessly start something on one device and finish it on another. So handoff is, I believe it's in general. I believe it's in general. And well, instead of believing it's in general, let's check. Open general settings. I believe I saw it in general. They move things around sometimes. So
settings. Leave. Shut down. Set. AirPlay and handoff.
Yep. Right there. AirPlay and handoff. That was correct. So you go in there, you turn handoff on, and you could do what I just did.
Keyboard. Button.
I'm trying to get it over here. There we go. Any other questions about that?
No, I'll do. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Any other questions? Okay. So, finally, is the HomePod worth it? And would I recommend it? I I would recommend the HomePod, but it's getting harder to say no. Um, I would say if you know coming into this HomePod field, if you will, that Siri is limited, that that this device doesn't have skills, that this device is going to be a book player, music player, any audio player, then I'd say yes, I would recommend the HomePod. If you don't know that, then that's not good because you're going to be expecting a lot of things that Siri cannot do on its own. I really do hope that the HomePod will improve more, that third-party app integration will be possible. However, at this time, it is Apple Music. There is one thing about the HomePod that is surprising. It does not, like, you can't play any audiobooks that you purchased from Apple. That's a little bit weird. But again, you can use handoff. And so I would say, to the question, would I recommend it? I would say yes, I would. However, I would say this. If you can, try to get it on sale. Because I actually got the HomePod on sale for $200, so $100 off. And I knew, all right, it's not the sharpest tool in the box, it's not the sharpest knife in the drawer, whatever scenario you want to go with. I know it's not Echo. I know it's not the Google Home, but as it is a music player, and I did research before I got it, which is better, the Echo Studio or the HomePod, and I found out the HomePod to be better at playing music. I said, all right, I'll go with it. So I have a lot of Apple products, and so I was already deep into the Apple ecosystem of things. So I said, all right, well, let's get this and let's just see what this can do because it sounds pretty cool. And I was surprised because I actually went shopping one time with Steven, and I was listening to the HomePod, or I should say, I went shopping with my friend Steven one time when I was listening to the HomePod, and it didn't seem that impressive to me in the stores. It really didn't. And then I figured out why. Because there were a lot of people in the store, and you couldn't really hear the bass. You couldn't really hear, how good the music actually sounded. But then when you brought the HomePod home, you actually did hear, especially when it got really, when it gets really quiet. Which my house isn't very noisy anyway, but when it's quiet like this, you actually do appreciate how good the music does sound. And so that would be the answer to that. It was a little lengthy answer, but yes, I definitely would recommend the HomePod if you can try to get on sale. Otherwise, I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's true the HomePod does not have a headphone jack on it, and that's Apple. They don't have a headphone jack on things anymore, unless you get the dongle. But it's pretty solidly built, and it's about the HomePod's a pretty heavy device. You're not going to be moving it around places, so it is like a plug-in stay device. Maybe about 4 pounds, 5 pounds. I don't know. It's pretty heavy when I pick it up, but what I usually do is I just usually move it forward toward the edge of my desk if I want it to pick up more, if I want it to sound better, because it basically the HomePod listens to its environment as you move it and determines the music setting for wherever you put the HomePod, whether it's like a room with lots of acoustics. It basically will adjust using its microphones. So any other questions about the HomePod?
This is HK.
Hey, HK.
Is it would it be good for somebody who can only use one hand? Or
Absolutely. I only use one hand on the HomePod.
uh,
And yeah, it's basically with the HomePod, it's a little interesting. So you basically drag your finger around until you find the button that you're looking for. So I'll do that now. I'm using my left hand, which is what I usually use with my
a lot,
iPhone.
a lot like the iPod Touch, which you got for me. That thing you drag your finger around on.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, you can do that on the iPod, and I've had to do that sometimes with different programs. But this is what you do with the HomePod. So you just drag your finger around.
Play.
And looks like it's kind of a interesting screen. It kind of bubbles up in the middle. But play seems to be the only option right now. But you could do what's called a split tap. So
Play.
Okay, and I have one finger resting on the play button. I'll just put another finger down. Or can you?
Play.
No. Hey guys, you can't do split tap on this. That's a little interesting. So you do have to
That's
do double tap.
interesting.
I don't even know what the song is. I think it's by There for Tomorrow. But anyway, yeah, that was interesting. I guess I thought you could do split tap. Split tap's really easy because then it'll makes tapping easier. If any of you guys are familiar with split tap, but apparently you just double tap, and there's only 3 buttons. So I really could turn off voiceover and just get used to not having voiceover on. It's just nice that Apple had that built in to the HomePod. But yeah, if you guys have an Apple TV, you can, the 4th generation Apple TV. Sure it works for the 3rd, but I would be safe with the 4th generation Apple TV. I believe what you can do, I have not tried this, but I believe you can say to the Apple TV, play whatever you want to play, like a movie, whatever, on my HomePod, or move the audio to my HomePod, and it will do that. The Apple TV will do that using Siri on the Apple TV. And I've had it play movies where I've basically gone into my Apple TV using I have a different remote that I use. It's called the Nimbus remote, Nimbus, and it's basically, I know it's getting a little off topic, but basically it doesn't have a touch screen on the remote. Looks like an Xbox remote, but I basically have switched the audio to the HomePod, and it makes movies sound great. Any other questions about the HomePod?
You said that it will adjust for acoustics. That's pretty interesting, I think. Have you noticed it doing that? For example, I'm sure your living room is much bigger than your bedroom. Have you noticed that it will adjust for acoustics in your living room, and can you notice the difference?
I've brought it down to my father's den one time because I really wanted to make sure that the 6-inch rule was applied. So apparently you're supposed to have 6 inches free from all sides, but it's not always possible. Like for me, I'm sure I don't have all 6 inches free, but it still sounds great. But basically that helps it to listen and get a better idea. But I have tried it within my father's den, and it did fill my father's den, and that's a pretty small place. I mean, it's not big whatsoever. So it actually does a really good job with doing that. I haven't taken it to any echoey sort of places, but I'd be interested to hear how that sounded.
Yeah. Now, there must be some. You can put it into your Wi-Fi system, right? Is that part of the setup? Or?
Yes. Yeah. So what it does when you hold your phone above the HomePod, it's basically getting your settings, like your Wi-Fi settings and stuff like that, from your phone. That's how that works.
Oh, okay. That's part of the when you activate the home app on the phone, that'll
And
bring
you
up the
see your HomePod. Then when you tap setup, it'll get all that information, like what Wi-Fi network you're on, et cetera, et cetera. It's actually pretty cool. The Apple TV, I believe, does the same thing.
It just does it automatically, huh?
Right. Yep.
That's great. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. But the nice thing about the HomePod, I will say, is you can say, answer my phone if your phone's somewhere else. Or you can say, find my phone. And it'll say, all right, your phone's nearby, pinging it now. Or it'll say, hey, I can't find it. Do you want me to ping it anyway? And you say yes, and it'll make a ping sound. So let me demonstrate that. Hey, Siri, find my phone.
Sorry, I'm not sure who's speaking. Who is this?
Sean.
One moment. It's nearby. Pinging Sean's iPhone. Location. Find my iPhone alert.
There it is.
Find my iPhone alert.
There we go.
4:57 p.m.
Does she have her own voice training, the HomePod?
She does. When you first, actually, yes, she does. So the phone was kind of talking as well, but Siri will basically tell you, try saying, "Hey Siri, play music." "Hey Siri, what's the weather?" So when you heard me say that, that was basically training her to listen to my voice.
Okay. Yeah, it probably was then.
Yes?
Because
How can I help?
Whoops. Sorry.
Yeah, because she said, "I don't know who this is." I was just like, "Wait."
Yeah, she'll do that, and she'll just say, "Who's speaking?" And then she'll recognize you when you get to listening to her.
Yeah.
Or sorry, talking to her. I noticed that before I reset the HomePod that it still would ask me from time to time, and it's like, okay, well, whatever, at least it gets the job done. I expect that if you were to add more people to the HomePod, I have seen it demonstrated where a guy was saying, play music, play this, play that, or do this, and then it would say, okay, so-and-so doing this. So I expect that if you add another person to the HomePod, it would quickly learn to differentiate between the voices and actually not ask you. But that I have not tried that, but from what I've heard, that sounds like what it does.
And how did you find out when the HomePod was on sale?
Let me think. I think a family member told me about it, or they were reading the ads, because I always like to hear what's on the Best Buy ad. So they were reading the ads, and I'm like, oh, cool, Apple HomePod, sweet. Because one other time I saw the Apple HomePod was on sale, and I was in the store, but fortunately I didn't have the money for it. And it's like, oh man, it's on sale for $200? It's like, yep. Oh man, shucks. But then when it came on sale again, I'm like, okay, I can't miss this opportunity. This is going to be something new to learn, a new piece of tech. It'll be nice, and it's $100 off. Heck, I'll get it, knowing what it can and cannot do. And so
These to your local stores, right? Your local stores who sell Apple products, like Best Buy, yeah, okay.
Yep. Got it at Best Buy, and I think it was like a 3-day only sale or something like that.
Very cool. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Any other questions? Yes, that is a cat in the background. Okay, well, thank you guys very much for listening to this presentation on the HomePod. And as always, if you guys have any further questions, if you guys happen to think of them later, feel free to get in contact with me. You guys have my email address. But before I let you guys go, I do want to talk to you guys about an event that will be happening not next week, because next week I'm going to cancel the meeting because of Father's Day. But the week after Father's Day, a good buddy of mine, HK, he's on the phone right now. He will be speaking he'll be doing a motivational speech, and I think it's appropriate, through all the hard times that we're going through right now. I thought, you know what, let's get HK on here. Let's have him do a uplifting motivational speech, and he'll be talking about the kind of stuff that he's gone through in his life and all the achievements that he's all the things he's managed to achieve. And I think you guys will definitely want to listen to that. It's great. I've heard him speak. He's wonderful at it. So be sure to come and listen to that. And I'll be posting a message on Bits as well about that.
Excellent. Looking forward to it, HK.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to that meeting, to doing my talk for you that day.
Sweet. All right, I'm going to stop the recording now.